Before towering trees, before flowering plants, before even the dinosaurs, the Earth wore a green carpet, not of grass, not of leaves, but of something much older, moss. Over 450 million years ago, our planet was mostly rock and water. Life was limited to oceans, but then, something remarkable happened. Plants made their first bold step onto land, and among the earliest to make this move were mosses. But before mosses ever reached the land, there were even earlier pioneers, tiny, invisible heroes. Cyanobacteria and simple algae had already begun venturing onto wet rocks near shorelines in the pre-Ordovician world. Though microscopic, they played a big role, slowly breaking down rock using acids they secreted during their metabolic processes. These early microbes laid the first fragile foundations, softening the Earth's crust with chemical and physical weathering. But the change was slow, patchy, and incomplete. Then came the mosses, the true game changers. Mosses belong to a group called Bryophyta, non-vascular plants that don't have true roots, stems, or leaves. Instead, they anchor with tiny structures called rhizoids, absorbing water straight through their leaf-like surfaces. They're tiny. They're simple. But they were revolutionary. They didn't just survive on land, they changed it. But how exactly did they change it? Back then, the Earth's surface was mostly bare, solid rock. There was no soil. No forests. No greenery, nothing for complex land life to hold onto. But mosses had a secret superpower. They could break rocks. As they clung to stone and moist surfaces, mosses began secreting mild acids. These acids slowly broke down the surface of rocks, a process known as biological weathering. Bit by bit, year after year, stone turned into sand, and sand mixed with decaying moss, creating the first soil. That's right, mosses helped make the very soil that all other land plants would later need to grow. Without that early soil, none of them would have had a foothold. Fungi, though critical in decomposition, came later in this role. They break down organic material, but mosses prepared the very surface that made it possible for fungi and vascular plants to follow. So in a way, the first forests owe their roots to mosses. They held water, preventing it from simply running off, and they created a foundation, a stage, for the rise of forests, animals, and entire ecosystems. They reproduce with spores, just like ferns and fungi. These spores are carried by wind and water, helping them colonize new land quickly. They're also survivors. Mosses can dry out completely and still come back to life with just a bit of moisture. They live in forests, deserts, Arctic tundra, even on concrete in the middle of cities. They're not picky. All they need is a bit of moisture and a place to grow. Even now, mosses are critical to life on Earth. They form soft mats that retain water, helping other plants grow. They prevent soil erosion, especially on slopes and riverbanks. They even house tiny invertebrates and microbes, forming microecosystems within their spongy layers. In tropical cloud forests, mosses help capture water from the air, feeding entire forest canopies. And in Arctic peatlands, mosses, especially sphagnum, store massive amounts of carbon, slowing climate change. They may be ancient, but mosses are still working quietly in the background, keeping ecosystems alive. Mosses remind us that evolution doesn't always roar forward. Sometimes, it crawls softly, quietly changing everything. Without mosses, the soil we walk on may never have formed, the forests we breathe in might never have grown, and the path to complex life, including us, may have never opened. So next time you see that little green patch on a wall or rock, remember, you're looking at one of Earth's first architects.